Hey y'all, today I want to go ahead and discuss the 2-3 notes with y'all. But before we get into that, let's go ahead and recall some things from Algebra 1. So, let's say that I have this wonderful X and Y plane, and that there's a line on this plane right here, and it's in blue. If we zoom in closely, we need to take a look at two particular points. This point here and this point here. When we say that the line crosses the x-axis, which is this particular line, you can see that this blue line here crosses the x-axis here, okay? And we will say that it's in the form x, comma, 0. And then over here, we see that the line crosses the y-axis, and it's in the form 0, comma, y, right? Because this is some sort of x value, and of course the y value for this particular point is 0. And then here, we can see that this y, or this point, contains a y value with x being 0. This right here, where the line crosses the x-axis, is what we call the x-intercept. And then over here, where the line crosses the y-axis, we call that the y-intercept. Okay? So these are two important things that you should already know in Algebra 1. Okay, so let's go ahead and look at the notes for today. 2-3, graphing equations of the lines. Recall that the formula for the slope that we have been using, where we say that m is equal to y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And this is essentially the rise over the run, okay? But today, we will be writing in graphing equations using slope-intercept form, in which this is the equation that we all know and love from Algebra 1. We use this a lot. Y equals mx plus b, where we say that m represents the slope and b represents the y-intercept. And again, the y-intercept is always in the form 0, comma, y. Okay, x has to be 0 and y is just some number. So this is where the line crosses the y-axis. Okay. Alright, let's go ahead and take a look at this. Is this where the following problems write the equation in slope-intercept form? So this is slope-intercept form. And then we're going to go ahead and graph the line. Okay, so again, rise over run. So here we have my slope. So this is my slope. And then b, what does b represent? It represents the y-intercept. So this is my y-intercept. And we need to write this in the form y equals mx plus b, okay? So let me go ahead and rewrite that. Y equals mx plus b. So y equals, well, we know that m is -2. Then I slap on the x, add the b, so b is 3, okay? And by the way, b is just in the form 0, comma, 3. So if this is my y-intercept, okay, I can go ahead and plot that. So let me go ahead and write my equation one more time. So it's y equals -2x plus 3. You want to go ahead and start with that y-intercept. So here's 0, and then 1, 2, 3. That is where I am going to plot my y-intercept. And starting from the y-intercept, I take a look at my slope. So 1, plot the y-intercept, then 2, look at the slope, and then 3, rise over run, okay? So if I know that m is -2, that is the same thing as saying -2 over 1, okay? Now if I look at this, since my slope is negative, if the slope is negative, y'all, that means that the line should look like this, okay? It looks negative, it's decreasing. So that means I need to go down 2, then I run 1, or run right 1. So let's do that. So I'm going to go down 2, right 1, and that's where I'm going to put my point. And I do that again, down 2, so 1, 2, and then run to the right 1. Again, down 2, run to the right 1. Then I feel like, okay, I'm going to go back to my y-intercept and do the opposite of what I just said. I'm going to go up 2, then left 1. So you see that? 1, 2, I'm going up 2, left 1. That's where I'm putting my point. Again, I'm going to go up 2, then this is where I'm going to put my point. Up 2, and this is where I'm going to put my point. Okay, and I feel really, really happy with the points that I plotted, so I'm going to go ahead and connect the dots, just like so. And then put the arrows, because you're talking about a line, it extends forever in both directions, okay? And this is how you graph y equals negative 2x plus 3. This is how you graph y equals negative 2x plus 3. Again, it should look like a straight line, okay? So y equals mx plus b. When you're graphing that, it should give you a straight line, just like what we have here, okay? All right, let's go ahead and take a look at this. So again, I have a slope of 1/3, and then my y-intercept is -6. So I can say, okay, y equals mx plus b. I'm going to go a little quicker because we already know what m and b are. M is 1/3 x. Sorry, m is 1/3, then I slap on the x. Now I know my y-intercept is in form 0, -6, right? So that's just plus -6. If I simplify that, please simplify, you get y equals 1/3 x minus 6, and that is not a b, so that is a 6. Hopefully that looks like a b to you. So then what do I have to do? Well, I start with my y-intercept again, so there's 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Plot the point there, and then look at your slope. So I have m equals 1/3. That means I'm going to rise 1, and then I'm going to run 3. Okay, so I go up 1, right 3. 1, 2, 3. That's where I put my point. And then up 1, right 3. Up 1, right 3. Then I take a look at my y-intercept and then do the opposite. So I do down 1, left 3. Down 1, left 3. I'm pretty happy with these points, so I will connect them, and that looks absolutely horrendous. Let's try again. Does that work? Yes, there you go. And that is my line. Okay? All right. Ooh, this one right here. So this 0, 1 is just b, right? So y equals mx plus b. So y equals -2/5. Slap on the x plus, well, and do I put 0 or 1? This is what we're going to put, the 1. So this is my equation, y equals -2/5 x plus 1. I start at 0, 1. It's right here. And I'm going to go, so since this is a negative slope, because there's a negative sign in front of my slope, so I'm just going to go down 2, right 5, right? So down 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Down 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Do the opposite. So I'm going to go up 2, left 5. So up 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then it looks like I'm pretty happy, or I'm pretty content with these points. So I connect them. And then these arrows represent that they are extending forever. Okay? So this right here is b. So y equals 4x minus 3. So if you wrote y equals 4x plus -3, make sure you simplify this part. So a positive times a negative, that's going to become a negative. So y equals 4x minus 3. I start at 0, negative 3. I'm going to go up 4, right 1. So 1, 2, 3, 4, right 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, right 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, right 1. Then do the opposite. Down 4, left 1. And I'm pretty content. Connect. Arrows. And then you got it. This is how you graph slope-intercept form. Yo, welcome back. We are going to look at the back side of the Lesson 2-3 notes graphing equation of lines. For the following problems, calculate the slope, write the equation of the lines indicated, and then graph both lines. So, we have a line that contains points 4, negative 1 and 0, 2, and the line parallel to the original line with a y-intercept of negative 5. Let's go ahead and take a look at this again, or what the question is stating. So we have these 2 points in line 1. So we'll call that line 1. And the line parallel to line 1 has an y-intercept of negative 5. So we'll call that line 2. Okay, so if I look at these 2 points, what am I going to do with these 2 points? Well, if I go back, we have this, the slope, which is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, right? So if I use that to my advantage, I can figure out how to graph these lines here. So we say m for the first line, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. y2, well, y2 is going to be, well, let me go ahead and label this. This is going to be x1, y1, x2, y2. y2 is 2 minus y1 is going to be negative 1 all over 0, which is my x2, minus 4, my x1. So that's going to be what? Well, that's going to be 2 minus negative 1, that's going to be 3. And then 0 minus 4, that's going to be negative 4. So my slope here, my original slope is going to be 3, or negative 3 over 4. Okay, so that's going to be negative 3 over 4. And then I got to use my key word here, parallel. What does parallel mean? Well, the parallel slope of that means, well, same slope. So I'm looking at this, and it's basically the same slope. Okay? All right. So what do we notice from these 2 points here? Well, this here, that 0, 2, that's my b, that's my y-intercept. So that's going to be super, super helpful when I graph. So 0, 2, I'm going to use that in red because that line is red. 0, 2 is right here. And so yeah, I have my y-intercept. Now I'm going to go ahead and use my slope, which is negative 3 over 4. So I'm going to go down 3, right 4, down 3, right 4, right? Yep. And I'm going to do the opposite. I'm going to go up 3, left 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then this here is my, if I adjust this a little bit, that is line 1, or equation 1. So how do I graph this? Or sorry, how do I write this as an equation? Well, we know that's in the form y equals mx plus b, right? So y equals, my m is negative 3 over 4. Slap on the x, and what is my y-intercept? 2. Okay? Then I will now look at this. Line 2. It has a y-intercept of negative 5. And I'm going to go ahead and use my blue ink now. So y-intercept of -5, that's just saying 0, -5, right? So I'm going to go and look for 0, -5 on the graph, which should be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right here. And then since that line is parallel, so this line that I'm about to draw is parallel to this line, they should have the same slope. So I'm going to go use this point, and I'm going to go down 3, right 4. So down 3, right 4, and I'm going to do the opposite, up 3, left 4. 4, there you go. And then use your straight edge to show that they are parallel. And that is my attempt to show that they are parallel, but yes, they are indeed parallel. Now I can go ahead and take a look at that blue line. How do I write that as an equation? Remember, y equals mx plus b, right? So y equals mx plus b. My slope is -3 over 4. Slap on the x, then that plus b, right? I'm going to have that plus -5, right? So really, plus times a negative, that's going to be -5. Okay, so here is equation 2, and then here's equation 1. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at number 7. Yeah, let's go ahead and take a look at number 7. So, let me go ahead and go back to the red color. So we have a line that contains points -5, 2, and 0, 2. Which is parallel, or sorry, a line that contains points -5, 2, and 0, 2, and the line parallel to that first line with a y-intercept of -5. Okay, well, so here's line 1, okay, and line 2 over here is parallel to this line, and that second line, that in blue, has a y-intercept of -5. So what do I do with these 2 points? Once again, I'm going to use that wonderful slope formula that we know and love, and I'm just going to say, okay, well, that's m equals 2 minus 2 over 0 minus -5. And then 2 minus 2 is 0, and then it doesn't really matter what the bottom stuff is, but 0 minus -5, that's going to be +5. 0 divided by 5, we put that in the calculator, that's going to be 0. So that means this is a zero slope. And the 0 slope looks like this, okay? So, now let's go ahead and figure out what the, parallel slope. If I know that the 0 slope, if I know that the original slope is 0, then what is the parallel slope? What is the parallel slope? Well, that's just going to be 0 again, okay? All right. We're going to go ahead and use this. We're going to use this right here. That's my y-intercept. That's my b, right? That's my b. So I'm going to go ahead and plot that in 0, 2. And we know that this is a 0 slope, and that means it's just a horizontal line. So I really just do this. This is all I could do here, because I am rising 0 and running 0, right? So this is just a straight horizontal line. And now if I take a look at that blue line, which is parallel to this red line over here, well, I'm going to go ahead and graph this, which is what? 0, -5, right? Or sorry, I'm going to use this. This is my y-intercept, so it's in the form 0, y, so that's 0, -5. So 0, -5, I'm just going to go ahead and look at my graph. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Plot that, and since it's parallel, they should have the same slope, 0 slope. Okay, this should have 0, 0, 0 slope. Okay, then we're gonna go ahead and graph. So basically, we take a look at this. We know that the equation 1, y equals mx plus b, right? So y, oops, wrong, yeah, actually right color. Y equals 0x. Then my y-intercept over here, that's +2. And I'm just going to make that look nicer. It's just basically y equals 2, right? 0 times x is just 0, so I can just get rid of that. So it's going to be y equals 2. And then for my blue one, y equals mx plus b again. So we have 0x. Then what do we have? That y-intercept of -5, or 0 comma -5. So it's y equals 0x minus 5, or y equals 5. Okay, so that's how we graph lines that are 0, or lines that have 0 slope, and then that's how we write the equation. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at number 6. Perpendicular. Now remember, perpendicular means opposite sign flip the fraction. So opposite sign, sign flip the fraction. Okay, so we have a line that contains points 2, -2, and 0, -3, and the line perpendicular to that first line contains the y-intercept of 4. Okay, so here, this is my first line that contains these 2 points, and then that second line perpendicular to the first line has a y-intercept of -4. Or not -4, +4. So what do I do with these 2 points? You got it. We're going to go ahead and use that slope formula. So m equals -3 minus -2 all over 0 minus 2. -3 minus -2, that's going to be -3 plus 2. And 0 minus 2 is just -2. And then -3 plus 2 is just simply -1. And then the bottom stuff, that's just -2. So that's going to be 1/2, because a negative divided by a negative is 1/2. Okay? All right, so my original slope is 1/2. What is the perpendicular slope? Well, here my original slope is positive, so that means with my new slope, my perpendicular slope, it has to be negative. And then here my original slope is 1/2. So then I just need to swap the numbers. So the 2 that is originally in the denominator, the bottom of the fraction, now becomes the top. So that's going to be -2 over, then the one here now becomes in the denominator, or the 1 is going to become the bottom number. Okay, so what do we have here? We have this. So this is super helpful because this is my y-intercept for that red particular line. So 0, -3 is right here. Go ahead and use that. I'm going to use this slope for this. Okay, so I'm going to go up 1, right 2, up 1, right 2, up 1, right 2, up 1, right 2. Do the opposite, down 1, left 2, down 1, left 2. And then I'm pretty happy with these points. So I connect them and then draw the arrows. So now what I have here is this. I have a y-intercept of 4, so that means 0, 4, right? So 0, 4 should be right here. And now I don't use this slope. I'm going to use my new slope that I figured out, perpendicular, correct? So using this point that's my y-intercept, I'm going to go down to right 1. So down to right 1, down to right 1, down to right 1, down to right 1, and then connect. And that should intersect at a 90-degree angle. Okay? So how do we write my equation? So the red line should be y equals 1/2 x. Then this is -3. So y equals 1/2 x minus 3. And then my blue one should be y equals -2x. And then the y-intercept is 0, 4, so plus 4. Okay? All right. Now, let's take a look at this one. So we have this. This is my first line that contains these 2 points. And then the line perpendicular to the original line goes through this point here. Okay, so first, and then this is our second. So then I do m equals 6 minus negative 2 over 3 minus 3, and then that's just going to be what, 8 over 0. And then when you have a 0 in the denominator, you need to write undefined. You don't write 8 over 0. You need to state undefined. So that means undefined, which should look like a vertical straight line. Okay? So, yes, we have that. Then we need to figure out what is perpendicular to this. So here's my slope, right? And it's undefined. With undefined, it has, so I'm gonna write this down somewhere. So with undefined, it has a 0 in the denominator. So what do you think, what do I do if I have a 0 in the denominator if I'm talking about perpendicular? So perpendicular to an undefined line, what is that? Well, it's this, right? So if I have a number in the numerator and 0 in the denominator, which is my undefined, I just swap the position. So my new slope, so here we have m being undefined, yes? So then my new slope, perpendicular slope, should be 0 over that number, which is just 0 slope. Okay, super important that you understand that concept. So let's go ahead, and since we don't have a y-intercept, I'm gonna go ahead and graph those 2 points anyway. So 3 comma negative 2 should be right here, and then 3 comma 6 should be 2 4 6 right there, and then it should represent this over here. So I have that. Okay, and then we have this point. We have this point over here, 4 comma 2. I'm going to use that in blue. So 4 1 2, that's 4 comma 2, and it's a 0 slope, so it should look like this horizontal line. So it should go through that point like so. It should go through that point like so. Okay, draw those arrows to indicate that they are going forever. And there you go. That's how you do it. You got it. We have a line perpendicular to this line, and they intersect at a 90-degree angle. Now the question is, okay, well, what are the equations? Well, that's a really good question. So we can figure out this one right here. This is a 0 slope. And if I can figure out what the y-intercept of this thing is, well, it's 0 comma 2, right? So this is my y-intercept. And this is equation 2, by the way, because everything we write for equation 2 is always in blue. So that is y equals 0 slope, right? So 0x plus 2, which is really y equals 2. And then my equation for this undefined slope, well, you can see that this line is passing through this x value. Yes, it's passing through this x value. So we write x. So every time when you're writing an equation for an undefined slope, it's never y. It's always x equals. And then it's just going to be x equals the number that it is passing through the x-axis, which is just 3. So x is equal to 3. Okay, does that make sense? See how this line here, it's passing through 3 that's in the x-axis there. Okay, so x is equal to 3. So one more time, when you're writing undefined slope, it's always x equals. Everything else that we talked about will be y equals. Okay. Alrighty. Yeah. Hopefully you enjoyed the video, and I will see you next time.